Hello, everyone. My name is Matt Arant from Arant Academic Planning, and this is another one of our virtual information series, and where I've been joined by mission representatives from schools all across the United States, Canada, and Europe. These schools represent a wide variety of types, geographic locations, as well as sizes. So tonight I'm joined with Karl Bjorkman, who is a representative from Franklin and Marshall College. So, Karl, why don't you go ahead and take it away for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Matt, for having me. So, hello, everyone. My name's Karl Bjorkman. I'm an admission counselor and athletic liaison at Franklin and Marshall College. I've been here for about 2.5 years. I serve as territory manager for Bucks County, Montgomery County, and Northampton County in Pennsylvania, as well as the northern half of New Jersey. So, if you fall into one of those geographical buckets, I'm your guy. But if not, by all means, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any questions and also loop in your territory manager or admission counselor in any correspondence we have. So here's my contact information if you'd like to reach out. But if I'm not your territory manager, I will direct you to this particular webpage on Franklin and Marshall's website. There is a map of the United States and then a map of the entire world beneath it that gives you a sense of who is your territory manager. And so that's pretty easy to find once you go onto this part of the website. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into the presentation proper here. Franklin and Marshall College, we're a small private liberal arts college located in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Founded in 1787 as just Franklin College and then merging with Marshall College about 80 years later in 1853. So Franklin and Marshall College, we're about 1,900 students strong, all undergraduate. Average classroom size is about 17 students. The biggest class you could ever take at Franklin and Marshall is like an intro level biology or psychology course, which would have no more than 35 to 40 students. That's really as big as they get. Then the more advanced your classes become, typically during junior, senior year, you'll find those numbers can go down to 5 to 10 students per class. The main point is that you're not just another anonymous space in a huge lecture hall with hundreds of other students. You'll actually get to know your peers and especially your professors really well. Heck, I know students who have dog sat for professors on weekends. We don't have any master's or PhD programs at F&M, which means two important things for our students. No grad students, no graduate students that you might otherwise be competing with for face time with professors or other academic, research, or internship opportunities for which graduate students might be given priority. We don't have that problem because we don't have grad students. No graduate students also means no TAs. No teaching assistants are teaching any courses at the college. Some students bear the title of TA. That's mostly just for them to help professors grade a couple of assignments here and there, but only full-fledged professors teach every class at the college. At F&M, we offer 52 different fields of study that includes majors, joint majors, minors, and certificate programs. The most popular programs, in no particular order from year to year, tend to be business, biology, psychology, economics, government, and earth and environmental science. Those tend to be the big ones. Then two niche areas that F&M is also known for that not many other liberal arts colleges have are animal behavior studies for our pre-veterinary students, as well as astronomy and astrophysics, two niche programs that we have at F&M that we're really proud to have. So we also have students that come from over 40 states and 50 countries, and we have one of the highest percentages of international students among baccalaureate colleges in the United States. That statistic you see right there, about 20% or 1/5 of our student body being international students, that is not a coincidence. That's a really big deal for us. We believe that having a global campus community here at F&M makes everybody's experiences richer, both socially and in the classroom for students, faculty, and staff. It's not a coincidence that we have the international community here that we do. We also have access to over 170 different off-campus and abroad study abroad programs in 45 different countries in all 7 continents. And yes, I said 7 continents. Sign me up for the Antarctica program where you can actually go and work with penguins. It sounds amazing. But we also have opportunities for even first year students in their first semester to study abroad as well. It's not just for the juniors and seniors in the back half of their college career. Where for the IF&M program, for example, is a program where students would apply for that program. It's not an alternative to admission to Franklin and Marshall College. Admitted students actually seek out this opportunity if it sounds like something of interest to them. We assemble a cohort of 8 to 12 students, applicants to this program, and they would go over to our nonprofit branch campus in Bath, England, that Franklin and Marshall College owns and operates. It's called Advanced Studies in England, and they would go over with an F&M faculty member who would serve as their first year advisor. They're housed in the same dormitory building together. They're going to be receiving advising from that F&M faculty member and would then be taking classes with students who have come from all over the world to study at the institute there. So another really cool study abroad opportunity. About 35 to 40% of our students tend to study abroad, and so you would be in very good company if you wanted to do likewise. We also have a significantly higher than average percentage of students that do research here at F&M. We're a big undergraduate research institution. About one half of our student body are engaged in research here. And so it's really common for professors to approach their students saying something along the lines of, "Hey, I'm starting this grant-funded research project. I know your interests and your strengths are in this particular area. And I think you'd be a really good fit for this particular research project. Do you want to come and work on it with me?" That's a really pretty common conversation that you can have with professors when you're not just another, number in the classroom. This is where classroom size matters for opportunities, for conversations, for relationships like this, where you can actually be brought into doing undergraduate research in close collaboration with your professors. And it's also not just an opportunity for juniors and seniors. This is also something that first and second year students can get involved with as well. And then of those students that do research, about the 50% of students that are involved in research here, 40% go on to produce published work in peer-reviewed academic journals, usually co-authored in collaboration with their professors, before they've even graduated from F&M, which makes them really competitive applicants for graduate programs or to go directly into their intended fields. So, in short, you don't have to wait to do the thing that you're passionate about or interested in until after you've graduated. You can actually start to do those things and do that research and get published in peer-reviewed journals before you've even graduated. A really, really great opportunity at F&M for research. Now, when I have information sessions with people on campus, I don't actually have them close their eyes, but I say to them, well, if I were to have you close your eyes, if you're familiar with Lancaster, Pennsylvania at all, if I said Lancaster County or Lancaster, Pennsylvania, what's one of the first things that comes to mind? Usually the first thing that I hear is Amish folk. And yes, absolutely. Amish folk are definitely an integral part of this community, part of its history and heritage, and we're incredibly proud to have them as part of our community. It's kind of hard to get to where we are in Lancaster City without passing through some rural Pennsylvania. Uh, and I usually get some cocked heads whenever I say, "Oh, we're located in the city of Lancaster." It's just like, I didn't know there was a city of Lancaster. And there actually is. It's a city of 60,000 people. There are over 150 different restaurants and cafes, over 40 art galleries, some of the oldest continuously running farmers markets in the country. Back in 1730, Central Market began, and it's been going ever since. It's an institution that you can find right in the middle of the city. Also, the city being about a 15 to 20-minute walk away from our campus. So it's an amazing opportunity to have a thriving city of 60,000 people right in our backyard. A lot of small liberal arts colleges tend to be located in more isolated rural parts of the country, and a lot of folks think that F&M is among those, but we actually do have a thriving small city right in our own backyard. We also have an Amtrak station not a mile down the road from us, and so you can also easily connect to major cities like Philadelphia, Baltimore, DC, New York City, and even Boston. As a recruiter myself who spends a lot of time on the road, I can speak to the accessibility of all of these places personally. So you have the boutique experience of downtown Lancaster. You have all the bigger amenities in the surrounding area because Lancaster County is 500,000 people strong as well. But then you're also connected to a lot of the major eastern cities as well. So F&M, we're also part of the Centennial Conference. We have the most number of athletic varsity programs in our conference at 28 different sports, all of which are Division III, except for D1 men's wrestling and D1 women's squash. Men's and women's squash is technically interdivisional, but they play at the Division I level. And then the men's wrestling program is D1 through and through. Everything else is Division III. So if students are looking to find the right balance between academics and athletics to have professors and coaches understand where your priorities are and maybe not compete for your time as much as they might at a Division I institution that might have a more all-encompassing athletic program. F&M is a great place for you to be a student first, but also to compete at a high level. There's a gentleman named Ken Melman, class of '88, I believe, who recently made a significant contribution to the college of $7.5 million for a soon-to-be added addition to the Alumni Sports and Fitness Center. It's our main athletic facility on campus. Let's see if I can get the name right. It's going to be called the Melman Center for Strength, Conditioning, Wellness, and Performance. We're going to be breaking ground on this major addition to our athletic facilities, hopefully by the end of 2026. And then the facility will be open hopefully by the end of 2027. That's the rough plan, at least. So for a school with as much athletic pride and spirit and prowess as F&M does, this is a long time coming upgrade to our current facilities that will be beneficial to all of our D3 programs, D1 programs, as well as for faculty, staff, and students for recreational purposes as well. So we're incredibly excited about that. And also, we're known athletically as the Diplomats. All of our athletic teams are called the Diplomats, but also each individual student at F&M is referred to as a diplomat. I'll often have alumni reach out to me via email and sign off, beneath their name, "Go Dips" or "Roll Dips," which I think is kind of cute. I'd like to talk a little bit about our Center for Career and Professional Development office during this particular slide. Uh, a lot of colleges and universities have offices like this, professional development offices like this. I like to think that ours is more robust than most, largely because of our 85% engagement rate with all four class years. This is not an office just for the juniors and seniors who are in the back half of their college career. They're starting to think about life after graduation, their professional ambitions. Maybe I should start to connect with some alumni. Maybe I should make my LinkedIn profile more robust, practice my mock interview skills, that kind of stuff. And those are all services that we offer in this particular office. But our advisors and directors and these services are available to first and second year students just as much as for the juniors and seniors. Our advisors, they want to engage with you early and often. You might have been here for only 2 months as a first year student, having just come in for the first time from the summer. You have no idea what you want to do after you graduate, let alone what you might want to major in. You've got a lot on your plate. It's sort of a fire hose of information right now. As underbaked or underdeveloped as that first conversation might be with the directors and advisors in this office, that's totally okay because it's more about establishing a relationship and an ongoing dialogue with this office, with these advisors, so that you've been having these sort of formative, evolving conversations about professional ambitions, about connecting with F&M alumni over the course of 3 or 4 years, rather than doing everything at the last minute as a senior. You're only 2 months away from graduation, and I haven't been talking to anyone about any of these things. But these conversations can really help you start to form your opinions on the things that you're interested in and passionate about, and what kinds of courses might you want to dip your toe into. This is an office you want to engage with early and often. Also, if you'll see above here, there are different career communities that this office is broken up into. At the top of this slideshow, there's a director who's at the helm of each of these career communities, and they actually come and find you before you sometimes come and find them. They actually will come to students' first year college houses. There are 3 first year college houses that first year students are sorted into. And these directors will come to your college house, either the great room or the fireplace room, and they will give a presentation on who they are, what their title is, what services they provide in the Center for Career and Professional Development office. and let you know that they're here to support you. And if you want to come and find them later on, after you've maybe dipped your toe into the F&M, academics and social life a little bit, you've gotten your footing, come and find them. But they want to establish a relationship with you sooner rather than later so that you have an ongoing dialogue with this office. You're going to be in such a better place later on in your college career if you've made an early touch point with this office. They organize over 200 events on campus each year. That includes job fairs, internship fairs. They have a professional clothing closet where you can come and borrow professional clothes for internships or job interviews or anything like that. We have an etiquette course that we offer where we serve students a multi-course meal with multiple sets of silverware, and we teach them how to conduct themselves in a professional manner at the business dinner, which I know some institutions do, but I'm really proud that F&M is among them. We also, just a couple weeks ago, or maybe a couple months ago, we had on campus an F&M networking night with alumni who came back to talk to current students. And so they really loved having the opportunity to connect with those alumni who are doing the things that our students are thinking about doing, but also our vast alumni network, which you can tap into through the True Blue Network. That's what it's called in our system. They love working with current students as well. And so that's a mutual relationship that you can build at F&M in terms of professional development. If you're going to be applying for financial aid at F&M, there are two things that we need. We need the free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA, which goes live every October 1st. But we also require what's called the CSS profile, which you can submit through the College Board website. The CSS profile helps us determine if and how much need-based institutional aid you could be eligible to receive directly from Franklin or Marshall College. And then you would resubmit the CSS profile each year. You would want to be considered for need-based aid from F&M. Our policy is that we meet 100% of institutionally determined need for students and families all 4 years guaranteed. About 65% of our students receive some form of need-based aid from the college, the average package being around $43,000, $44,000 per year. A lot of folks, when they look at our sticker price tuition, they go white in the face because we're on the higher side of a lot of higher ed institutions in the US. But that's not considering our financial aid packages, which I think actually make an F&M education really feasible for students and families. Also, a couple of years ago, we brought back merit scholarships. I believe it was 2.5 years ago. There was a stint of 11 or 12 years when we were a need-based aid institution only, so we're thrilled to be able to bring back merit scholarships. Merit packages range from between $15,000 to $40,000 per year. There is no additional application you have to fill out in order to be considered or to receive a merit scholarship. If you apply to the college, you're done. And then you would find out if you're a recipient of a merit scholarship and how much that package would be in your decision letter. So that's the timeline there. And then there's some athletic scholarship funds available for Division I programs, so the squash program as well as the men's wrestling program as well. Everyone is also assigned as an inquiring or prospective student or an applicant to the college a financial aid counselor. And so folks like me in the admission office, we're happy to go over some higher level general questions you might have about financial aid, but connecting with your financial aid counselor or one of our directors of financial aid is going to be the best place for you to really get into the nitty-gritty details of that process because it can be overwhelming, it can be tedious, and so they're happy to walk you through that process. They're fantastic. Lastly, we accept both the Common application and the Coalition application through Naviance and SCORE, respectively. We do not have a preference for which. I think there's a limit of 20 schools that you can apply to through the Common App, and so if for some reason you've surpassed that limit, first of all, well done. I don't know how you did it, but then just hop over to the Coalition application. We'll be happy to take it from there too. There are two application deadlines and three application pools. The first is Early Decision 1, the deadline for which is November 15th. Early Decision 1 and Early Decision 2 are great applicant rounds to be in if you know that Franklin or Marshall College is your number one institution. There is no other place you would rather go than Franklin or Marshall. You want to put all your eggs into the F&M basket. That comes with an early decision agreement form, which means it's binding. That form would be signed by you, the student, a parent, and your high school counselor. And so if you're admitted through early decision 1 or 2, congratulations, you're a diplomat, and we'll see you in the coming fall. Otherwise, if you wanted to apply regular decision, it's still by far our biggest applicant pool from year to year. If you wanted to keep all of your options open for all the schools that you applied to and were accepted into, by all means apply regular decision. You would just receive your decision letter back a little bit later than you would for the early decision rounds. In fact, you would receive your decision letter within a month of each deadline of the early decision round. So for ED1, you would hear back from us no later than December 15th. For early decision 2, no later than February 15th. And then for regular decision, historically, it's been no later than mid-March. So that's about the timeline for each of those regular decision and early decision rounds. We only offer early decision, which is binding. We don't offer early action at FNM. That's something that is offered at other institutions that you can do at multiple institutions. You can apply early action at multiple institutions, but we don't offer that option at FNM, just to be clear. FNM, we're a test optional institution. We have been for over 30 years. That's not an accommodation that we made during COVID, and now a lot of other institutions are now pulling that policy back. We've been doing this for 3 decades, and that's not going to change anytime soon. We also have a do no harm policy with regard to standardized testing. So if you receive an SAT or an ACT score and you're not sure if it's competitive enough to submit, when in doubt, always submit the score. We will either look at it and consider it or not look at it, whichever makes you a more competitive applicant. And also, being read as a test optional applicant does not put you at a disadvantage in comparison to your peers who did submit competitive test scores. There might be some greater bearing given to determining merit scholarships in terms of having a competitive SAT or ACT score, but it's not going to disadvantage you as a test optional applicant in the general admission review phase. Whew. All right. That's all I have for you. Again, my name is Karl Bjorkman. I'm an admission counselor at FNM, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. Please feel free to reach out to me, and I'd be happy to loop in your territory manager if I'm not your territory manager or admission counselor. And I hope to see you on campus in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Thanks very much, Carl. So I have a couple of kind of questions just based on what I just saw earlier. The first goes back to the IFNM program, right? How it's the opportunity for students to study abroad right when they become a college student, more or less.
Yeah.
I'm wondering for that program, when you're at a school that really values that advising the holistic experience all 4 years, and you have a cohort of students that are not officially in Lancaster, what does that kind of adjustment period look like when they come back to Lancaster from Bath? How does that kind of work from an academic sense as well as just a general, I guess, social sense?
It's a really good question. That's one that I get pretty often about IFNM. It's like, why would you have a cohort of students start out in their first semester of college, somewhere else with each other, and then what's the process look like when coming back? The thing is, it really is sort of a self-selection thing. This is really for students who have the travel bug and they want to go abroad as soon as humanly possible. If they hear about the IFNM program and, it's maybe less of a priority for them to actually be in the middle of campus in Lancaster, then absolutely that's an opportunity that they should seek out and apply for. But having an FNM faculty member going over with you as your first year advisor, it's going to be the same kind of advising program that you would have as if you were back here on campus. They're going to be staying on top of, the kind of general education requirements that you're going to be satisfying, especially during your first year, year and a half as an FNM student anyway. And so that's going to be a part of it too. The F&M Connection seminar course, it's kind of our college orientation 101 course. That's also going to be something that's going to be touched on while you're abroad too. So you're going through a lot of the same motions, a lot of the same requirements, even though you're not on campus in F&M, at F&M. And so by the time you come back, I can't speak to it personally because I didn't do the IF&M program, but for students who are going to come back from Bath, England to the city of Lancaster, where we're located, it might be kind of like jumping into the deep end or like jumping into some cold water because it's going to be maybe not culture shock, especially if you're a domestic student, but hopefully the advising that you receive from F&M professors is going to be similar enough that it was, for all the students that stayed on campus, that the transition should be relatively smooth once you get back.
Okay. And then kind of piggybacking on that, in terms of like that cohort group, is there a general sense of how that's broken down in terms of domestic students versus international? Because I'm thinking for a school that is already really a prominent international student population, they would be more likely to be, in my eyes, the one that would pick that program because they're already coming from a different country. How does that work? Is it a kind of healthy split, or is it predominantly international or domestic students that typically take advantage of that program?
That's also a really good question. One I don't have the answer to actually.
Okay.
That's a program in terms of determining who's going to be admitted into that program. I think that's a bit of a higher level conversation with admission
Hmm.
leadership. And so I wouldn't be able to give you a breakdown on that. I'd be happy to, find the answer for that for you, to see if there's some sort of consistent breakdown of domestic and international students. Is it explicitly domestic students? If they're looking to have that a broad experience at the beginning of their college career, or is it also tempting for international students who are maybe already overseas before they come over, in the spring? So I'm not actually sure what the breakdown is or what the philosophy is behind that. If it's just sort of we determine on a case by case basis, like this seems like a really good candidate. They
Hmm.
apply for this program. They sort of give us an indication of why they're drawn to a program like this, and so we take their small application into consideration. But no, that's a good question, one that I'd be happy to track down the information for.
Thank you. And finally, going back to the conversation with early decision, right? So when I've talked to families, oftentimes the key kind of sticking point for applying ED from the sense of, oh, it's binding, right, is
Yeah.
financial aid. Is there any way that those students can get an accurate sense of their expected financial aid before making that really uh, tough decision to make? It's such a thing you have to deliberate constantly on, oh, am I going to make that leap to go
Yeah.
from an RD to an ED? So are there any specific mechanisms that y'all use that students can have a clear sense of, here's how much need-based aid I'm eligible for beyond just filling out the net price calculator or my intuition?
100%. So you listed just now two of the three things that students can do ahead of time to determine what they could expect to pay as an attendee of F&M. And so yes, there's the my tuition, my intuition, there's the net price calculator that's a little bit more involved, but it's not an exact science. The most precise or robust way to for us to give you a sense of what you could expect to pay, like almost going to be pretty based on what financial aid has told me. The closest estimate you can get is with our early financial aid estimate. That is something that you can request or fill out on the financial aid website, on F&M's website. That is something that we offer to early decision one and two students who are thinking about early decision really seriously. And before they bind themselves to that agreement, we want to be able to give them the information through that early estimate, what they could expect to pay. And then if they feel comfortable with it, then they can commit. For students who apply early decision who didn't go through that process, it can be a little bit more uh, difficult down the line when they realize that, oh no, I should have gotten a more accurate estimate ahead of time. But the early financial aid estimate is what it's called. Especially for early decision students, we have a lot of athletes as well who apply early decision one and two. Their application schedules start really early, sometimes like midway through their junior year in high school, and they're already starting the pre-read process, which is a whole other thing. But the early estimate would be the most robust, comprehensive estimate for those students who are considering ED.
And what do they need to specifically do in order to receive that early estimate?
Can you
Like
go into more
what
detail about
what
what they
steps do they need
need?
to take besides just going on the website in order to receive that early estimate from financial aid?
Or do you mean like what kind of materials do they
Yes,
need?
do they need to submit an application, or like how does that, like what's required in order for them to get that
Uh,
that estimate?
Understood. I don't actually have the answer to that, what materials are needed, and to the best of my knowledge, they don't need to submit an application to submit an early financial aid estimate. I could be wrong about that. That's also something that I could check on. That is more of a financial aid question within their
Hmm.
purview. Um, the thing that I do is when I get that question from students and families is just, yeah, hop on over to the financial aid website. It's a pretty noticeable link, the early financial aid estimate, and then it takes you to an application or a portal that would then ask you for whatever information they're looking for. So when you navigate to that part of the website, I'm not aware of there being a requirement or a prerequisite to submit an application before you have access to that particular portal.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Well, that's kind of all I have right now. And as you put on the slides, that your contact information there as well as the staff listing. Oh, with that staff listing, are they divided up geographically by the student's physical location or where they go to school? So, like for example, me being down here in Texas, if I boarded at Phillips Exeter, would I be read by the Texas rep or by the New England rep?
Interesting. Okay, so the way that we break up territories, so there are different geo markets
Hmm.
that are then, absorbed by different territory managers, and it sort of depends on how close those territories are to where we are located in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And so, for example, we have somebody who is based in the DMV area who's primarily going to be the manager for and will travel to the south or a lot of the southeast. We have our current director of recruitment who has a pretty local territory in the surrounding Lancaster County area, but she also has the state of Texas. And so we also have an assistant director who's located in California, who is the territory manager for most of the Western US as well. For me, again, I have a couple of eastern counties in Pennsylvania and a good chunk of New Jersey. And then New England is usually covered by one rep as well. And then the New England rep also has some territories out in the Midwest as well. So there's as much of a diversification of territories among our staff. It can be a little bit random at times, like the whole I have some bits of Lancaster County and I have Texas. That might have to do with the connections they have had before if they've been working in another position somewhere else in the U.S. in higher ed. I believe our current director of recruitment, previously came from Texas, so which is why I think
Yes.
that she wanted to
Yeah, she was
maintain
at
this connection.
Southwestern where I just grew up down the street. So yeah,
There you
I've
go.
known her
There you go.
for a while.
Rebecca Rother's her name. And so usually the closer you are to our backyard, it's
Mhm.
sort of, divided county by county,
Yep.
especially in the state of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, the DMV area. And then the further out you get, it's usually in bigger regional chunks.
Because most of your apps are still going to be coming from those geographic areas that are relatively close to where you are, right? You'll still have applicants from all over the world, but New Jersey, New York, Metro DC, Philly, there's a lot of those applications are coming there because those families much are more well acquainted with the school just from a proximity standpoint. So that's why you kind of see all these people
Yeah.
have New Jersey versus just having one person cover an entire region of the country.
Exactly. We get a lot of international applications every
Yes.
year, a lot. I think if it's not half, it's over half of our applications are international students.
Hmm.
And they come from all over the world. But yes, you're right. We, believe it or not, F&M has more applicants from Pennsylvania than we do North Dakota. And
Yeah.
so we're going to have somebody who's covering North Dakota also cover another part of the US as well to sort of balance out those numbers because you're right on the money there.
Okay, great. So, on behalf of Carl and myself, thank you for joining us. I hope this conversation was illuminating, and maybe if you'd heard of F&M before, it kind of reinforced your interest. If you hadn't, hopefully it made it opened your eyes a little bit about this really stellar liberal arts college in the Northeast.